position there. Hello and welcome to the Northland Artists Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly. Normally sitting across from me is my amazing, fluent, cohesive speaking podcast co-host, Andrew McKenzie. Unfortunately, Andrew couldn't be here today. So Andrew is producer Andrew behind the cameras tonight. So thank you very much. Man, whoa. Today's podcast. So we're in 2023 and I'm going to move from that camera to that camera. We're in 2023 and this is the first week. So hey everyone, hope you had an amazing Christmas and I hope you had an excellent New Year's. I hope you're not still recovering from it. Lord knows as I get older, it takes longer to recover from those sorts of things. But our first artist for the new year, Sophie Sparrow, amazing. Unbelievable. She was one of those, when Andrew and I first started up this podcast, there were a few people that we kind of wanted to get, and I've said this a few times, I've said it more than once, and I'm going to say it again. There were a few people that I thought, yeah, that'd be cool to get on, and we could, see if we could make it happen. Well, 2022, we had 26 episodes, and man, we had some really, really cool people on, and we had some people that I absolutely wanted to have on right from the word go. And Sophie was also one of those people, and she's been busy. She's been a busy wee lady. She flew in from Florence, and she came in and joined us in the first week of her holiday back, and sat down, and boy, did we have an amazing time. We cover off everything. We walk through her whole life, which is great. It's what we do. We have a lot of laughs, and she is a super cool guest. And I know for people that know Sophie personally, whether it be her family or her friends, you guys are going to say, "Oh, we're surprised that she didn't talk more." Honestly, she could have. But boy, she is so amazing, and she's got so much energy. And when she came in and we kind of first met, she's like, I apologise in advance if I've got a bit of a jet lag and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's fine. You'll be all good. But by the end of it, it was like, what jet lag? No jet lag at all. She was just super cool, super bubbly, super cool to talk with. And, she's one of those guests where you can sit back and ask a question and just let her go. And it's just all amazing. And we had some really interesting points as well. Yeah, what a way to start a new year. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's sit down and have a conversation with the amazing Sophie Sparrow. Sophie Sparrow.
Yes.
No relation to pop artist Sam Sparrow. Thank you very much for coming in and joining us on the Northland Artists Conversation. Yeah, there is kind of a bit of a formal introduction.
Yep.
But it's lovely to have you.
Thanks.
And I understand you've just flown in.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, not literally, but a week ago. Yeah, Tuesday last week.
We could insert some cheesy joke, oh, your arm's tied, but those dad stuff, and I'm going to keep that shit clean. Okay, right.
Cool.
You flew in from England.
Yes. Well, purely, I'm based in Florence, though. But I flew in from London because I wanted to see some of my friends who I haven't seen for a while.
Yep.
And I get this thing called staff travel through my sister. And that flies out of London. So I was going to do that. Otherwise, it's widely expensive, just next level expensive to fly.
Like with 2 numbers and then 3 zeros after the end of it, yeah?
Oh, okay. Not quite that.
Not that expensive?
But
Okay.
But enough to be like, let me get going. Do I really want to do that? But
yeah, got to do a few gigs to replenish.
Exactly. Literally just to break even. But no, it's been a week from,
Yeah.
I'll be
Now,
back.
this is going to be a little bit interesting. So, for people that watch or listen to the podcast, we're recording this in the first week of December, but this will be the first podcast for 2023. So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Woo, woo, woo! 2023!
Yeah, that's it. 2023. Might not be as much of a roller coaster as the last 2 years. Now, you're a singer,
Yes.
and that's your craft, right? Now, you're a soprano. So you're the 3 S's, right? Sophie Sparrow, soprano.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant.
Search me up. That's me.
Cool. That's on all of your social media handles as well. Only Facebook and Instagram. Soon to be TikTok.
Never. Not yet.
You heard it first. Never TikTok.
I'll regret saying that.
There we go. Sophie has just admitted that she will never be cool.
Never be hip.
Never be hip. There we go. Now your journey has been extensive, and the reason I say extensive because in preparation for this podcast, I think we talked beforehand. I think I told you I spent about 4 hours researching you through as much on the internet as I could find. Now you've done some pretty amazing things. Now you're an opera singer.
Yes.
Yes. Who has achieved their masters.
Yep.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you're
Thanks.
currently studying in Vienna. Is that correct?
Florence. So not studying.
Not
So
studying.
we-
Living, performing. Conservatorship? Something along those lines?
No. So where I am now is the Masquerade I'm a resident artist with the Masquerade Opera Foundation, which is based in Florence, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a form of emerging young artist program that is, we're on full salary, we get paid. And it's in collaboration with La Fenice in Venice and a bunch of other opera houses throughout Europe. So it's slightly different to a normal young artist program. We're not connected to just one opera house, but connected to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a form of kind of professional development continually past the level of a conservatoire. So I've been at conservatoire for 4 years doing my master's and then doing opera school, which is kind of like the next step that's purely based on opera, which is technically you get an advanced diploma, but it's not really about the education piece of paper. It's more about getting the experience in the roles.
It's not about the letters after your name.
No.
It's about the people that you learn from, the exposure, the experience, the networking.
Exactly. So now being in Florence with Masquerade Opera Foundation and being their resident artist is what they like to call us. It is a form of professional development. We do concerts, and next year,
This year
when
the podcast comes out.
2023, May, we've got a big showcase with La Fenice in Venice in their opera house with the orchestra. So we've got a lot of concerts and that kind of thing, and then the rest of the time we do auditions for agents that come in and other opera houses that want to come and see us, and then if they like us, we also might get offered roles through them. So it's kind of a big stepping stone into the European market.
Yeah.
Because it's quite different to the UK market and very different to obviously New Zealand and Australia.
Now, there's obviously a lot of history in Europe and England, etc. I think for me, the closest thing I've seen to an opera house is the Hawke's Bay Opera House down in Hastings.
Have I been there?
I don't know. That feels like a rhetorical question.
I must have been there. Yes, no, of course. I've sung there at the New Zealand Opera School.
There we go. Okay.
No, Hastings.
Hastings.
No, I haven't.
No. It's where the Feelers shot the video for Venus.
Oh,
Yeah, I love that song.
how does it go? I can't remember.
Come, my little Venus.
Yes. Oh,
I'm not the singer, and she's making me sing.
yeah. Sorry about it.
Producer Andrew is trying not to wet himself with laughter in the background, going, "What the fuck has she gotten him to do?" Okay, so for me, that's kind of what I have as a reference point. But
Yeah.
these opera houses, they're going to be big and grand and ornate, and like essentially like. It's like an old building that's just had a shitload of gold splashed all over it because it's that luxurious.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Okay, right.
For example, I have never been to La Fenice in Venice, but I think that has gold splashed all over it.
Right. Okay.
For example, the Royal Opera House in the UK and London doesn't have so much gold, but it's all like reds and, royal, literally royal.
Yeah, royalty, yeah.
And the Colosseum, which is another big opera house in London, which is massive. Like,
Yeah.
I think that might be 2,500 seats or something.
And you've played there?
No, I haven't. I have done an
Yet.
audition. There you go.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe,
We'll get there.
We'll get there, maybe, and we'll see how it goes. I'll keep striving and...
Well, we'll see how things go after the podcast. Please, no agents be listening. Or listen, it's fine. It's just an honest appraisal. So let's go. I'm always fascinated to learn about an artist's trajectory, career, the origin story, if you will, because I love comics.
Great.
What is your origin story? Now, you're born and raised in Whangarei, yeah?
Well, I was technically not born here because I was technically born in Dargaville.
Okay, yep, nothing wrong with that. We've had some great Dargaville artists.
Yeah, so I was only there for 2 years.
Okay.
So I would say, yes, I was born there, but I love you, Dargaville, but I wouldn't say that's like my hometown or,
Right.
like Whangarei was where I was born and raised. Not born, but born and raised.
Yeah.
But I was only in Dargaville for 2 years because my dad, with his job as a bank manager at the time, he was getting shifted between different cities, like in 2-year brackets,
2 year
and
increments,
then
yeah.
and then they came here and then decided to stay here.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then I've been here since I was 2, / obviously around the world, but
Yeah.
I grew up here.
Where did the first initial love of music come from? Maybe not necessarily singing.
Yeah.
Because for singing you kind of have that's the music's the gateway into singing. Was there a lot of music in the house? Was it something that you were always interested in? Because opera it's not really for everyone, isn't it? I mean, my parents had a lot of Rod Stewart, Michael Jackson,
Great.
Doobie Brothers and the Eagles, right? So I don't like any of those artists, especially Rod Stewart. But that was my gateway into music, and then I discovered Aha and Bon Jovi. Don't look at me like that. I can sense those judging eyes, producer Andrew. Thank you very kindly. So what was it that got you into music first?
Well, I mean, I think it must be something that's always been within me because I don't necessarily come from a very super musical family. Like my parents, they will say this themselves. They aren't particularly, they're not singers and they're not particularly musical.
Are they creative?
Very creative, yes.
Right, okay.
My dad, I mean, creative, he's very hands-on. Like, he will build things very well, and he's very, like, into gardening and, making things look nice. And my mum grew up doing art, and she grew up sewing. So
Seamstress.
Seamstress.
We'll talk about mum.
The beautiful seamstress that she is, and that was always just a hobby. So she's very creative, and as a school teacher, her biggest thing that she'd always take when she used to do relief teaching when we were growing up, is her big thing was doing art, and she still does that, and teachers love it obviously because she's so creative, and she's very, very good with art and sewing. So that was kind of their thing that I definitely would say like I grew up doing art as well.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of music, my grandparents on my mum's side are very, very musical. My
okay.
nana,
Yep.
plays the organ and the piano, and my granddad used to play the euphonium.
For
The big brass instrument.
here we go. For those
Big,
of the
big.
people, for the viewers, I'm asking for
Yeah.
the viewers and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
listeners. What is a euphonium?
It's a big silver, big brass thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so he did that, and then on my dad's side, my granddad, his dad was, I think that's where the singing came from. So he was used to do, he was a boy soprano, and then his dad was very much into the operetta scene and musicals and stuff when he was growing up, and he was a boy soprano. So I believe that's where the singing came from, because my siblings don't sing.
Yeah.
I would say they are musical, but whether
Okay.
they actually followed it, we all had a chance to learn musical instruments. I started out doing piano, and my sister did piano, my brother did piano, and my other brother did guitar, and my sister did flute. And that's actually something so my older brother is 5 years older than me.
Okay.
And my mum used to say that, because we were learning Suzuki piano, and I don't know how old I was at the time, but he was learning a minuet on the piano, and I think maybe I was 4 or 5, maybe, I think, at the time.
Okay.
That he was learning this, and she knew that I was quite musical because I just started humming the tune of this piece that he was trying to learn, because you do it all by ear, which for violin is very good, for piano not so much, because you should be able to read music.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I was just like, I would apparently hum this tune, and I was kind of learning it as he was learning it by listening to it. So I think that was kind of,
Wow.
she saw how I was reacting to music and stuff when it was being played by my older siblings and them learning it. But I think it's interesting that you say that your parents went to like the Eagles and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, we always had like the Cars, the Eagles. Is it like Wingspan? Oh, what are they called? I don't know. There's another one, but Shania Twain and like all these Fleetwood Mac. We always used to grow up listening to those kind of things when I was between the age of 5 and 10. That was kind of. It was always I loved music. I loved listening to music.
So sort of a musical household, if not necessarily in the creative space.
Yeah.
Just you were surrounded sort of by different genres and styles of music. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's, to this day, like, I listen to so many different types of music. So many types of, like, just, like, hip-hop, a little bit of hip-hop, but I'll listen to also indie, and I'll listen to the classics. I'll listen to opera as well, but it's just a huge range of music.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Spotify has allowed people to open up and just discover stuff.
Exactly.
It's funny, couple of Tuesdays, about 10 days ago, my son and I were driving around, and we have this thing where he picks a song, I pick a song, he picks a song, and we just kind of have a sing-along and stuff like that. Well, I wanted to introduce him. I introduced him to Nigel Kennedy's Four Seasons.
Ooh.
And he really got into it. And he was like, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, this is a classical composer. This is a very famous violinist called Nigel Kennedy. He's doing a piece called The Four Seasons." I said, "This is summer," and I think summer's the one that BNZ used to, or National Bank used to use.
With the horse.
Yeah, that's the one. And that's really the only reason I remember it. And he took an interest in it, and I was like, "This is really cool." And then, and then he said, "Dad, can we please play the Wellerman song?"
Soon may the Wellerman come to ring. Yeah, great song.
No, not when he's singing it in the shower. Go, Sunday, the Wallabick. I love you, my son. You are amazing.
Great talent.
And you know what? What he lacks in skill, ability, tone, pitch, and hearing, he makes up for enthusiasm.
You know what? That's what they say.
Yeah, it is, and that's why I did death metal. But so when did you first start actually singing? When did was it you just, like, because you're doing the humming thing?
Yeah.
Did you kind of start humming and then singing, and then kind of someone went, ooh, she's not too bad?
So from what I know and what I have been told, and it's kind of was the first line of many of my applications, was that I really found my love, and how I started singing was I got the role in my primary school production as a flea in this circus musical thing.
Okay.
And I was 8 years old, and I remember, or do I remember? I don't know. I was told anyway. I auditioned for the principal to sing this solo in a flea costume, which my mum made. And I sung for my principal, who was very musical and actually took the choir. But I sang the audition, and I got it, and I was 8 years old at the time. And I got up on stage in front of all my peers and all the parents and stuff, and just sung this flea song. I have no idea how it goes now. Like, I literally have no idea. I'm going to have to find it and figure out what the song was.
Yeah.
And then my mum, apparently before that, I was kind of saying, I'd like to do some singing, but then I did that, and my mum and my dad were like, okay, we got to put her into some lessons, because clearly, like, she's a natural on stage, and look at her go. Like, this little 8-year-old just living it up on stage, singing this flea song. And literally, I do remember that the costume that my mum made, she's come a long way since then. I think she made it, but it was, I think I had my arms through some cardboard, and like the cardboard was like the outside of the back of the flea, and it had like little legs on it, and I was all in black, and I might have had little like antennas on or something, and I just stood there singing this little flea song in the Kōrero Hohori, the Cody Hall.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so weird. I can't believe that was the first time I sung in front of people singing that weird song. But yeah, from then on out, my parents were like, you should get in. I think we got to put you into some singing lessons. And the love just grew from there. And
so there was nothing before Flea that even gave them an inkling?
I might have been in choir. I don't really remember. That's kind of like my first understanding of kind of where it came. But I think I used to put on little like shows at home.
We go. Yeah.
I think with my sister. Performances. And we used to, oh, this is so good. We used to charge like our parents like 50 cents or something, and we'd turn off the lights in the lounge, and we had a piano in there, and we'd like make up little like and we'd like make up little tunes on the piano, and we'd come in and do dances and sing songs.
So it's like
that we made
showcase.
A little showcase, but we would like sit parents down, sit our siblings down, and charge them 50 cents to come watch us do that. So I think maybe that was before I was 8, or it was kind of. So I mean, I was always a performer. I think I think
always had a good business sense as well, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, well, exactly. We make it work.
Exactly.
But I've always had that sense of like, she's a little performer, and I know that when I was growing up, my parents were like, she's strong-headed, and she's got some independence, and knows what she wants. So whatever she's going to do, she's going to stick to it.
Let's just get out of her way. Seems to be a good idea. Just like, oh shit, step aside. Okay.
Yeah.
She wants to sing. Let's just throw some lessons at her.
Yeah, and that was the first lesson was 8, and I started with a teacher, Lisa Rangi, who at the time was Lisa Abbott, and she was based in Waipu, and we used to go down every week for lessons. She's now in New Plymouth, I believe. She's based there.
Yeah.
So I had lessons with her from the age of 8 to 13. And during that time, I remember I started my lessons at 8, and I straight away went into the Northland singing competitions, and I was doing competitions every year.
Wow, okay.
And one of the first competitions I did, you have song classes, right? So each class is a different genre of song at that age. So you'd have a class that was song and costume, and then you'd have a class that was folk song, and then you'd have a class that is a classical song, and you'd have an age group, right?
Yep.
And the song and costume was obviously my favorite.
Well, you got to step up from the flea.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And because it had to be my favorite as well, because I always had the best costumes because my mum made them, and she is an absolute pro. So she's been making things for me since I was 8 years old, right? And this very first song they did was called Don Gato Was a Cat. And it was about this cat. Oh my gosh. About this cat who had received a letter, and I literally can remember it was like, oh, Signor Don Gato was a cat on a high red roof. Don Gato sat. He went there to read a letter. Meow, meow, meow. Where the reading light was better. Meow, meow, meow. 'Twas a love note for Don Gato. And I had a full on performance and choreography, and I had this letter. And I was 9 years old, and in this cat costume, I had a tuxedo on. I had a hat with a straw hat with little ears coming out of it. I had a tail, all made by my mum. I looked great, and I won the class. And I was 9 years old, and it was a class from the age of 9 to 16. And this little girl came in and was just like, it was the cute factor, obviously. It wasn't for the singing, but it was the commitment. It was the passion, like it wasn't for perfect singing whatsoever. But the commitment on me, like the choreography, and Lisa was great. Lisa Abbott, my teacher at the time, she was very much into making sure that you were into your song and you knew everything about what you were singing about, and especially those ones. It was acting and singing and performing, I can't believe I still remember that. But that was one of the first performances I really was like, wow, I could keep doing this. This is so cool. I could win things, Me being a competitive person, still am,
One of the organisations that proudly supports the Northland Artists Conversation is Creative Northland. I'm going to take just a moment to talk to you guys about it. Creative Northland have been absolutely vital in helping this project get off the ground through its infancy and all the way through to where we are now. We couldn't have done what we've done without their assistance. What we suggest is that if you're a creative person and you haven't heard of Creative Northland, we highly recommend that you reach out to them. Creative Northland, simply do a Google search. They're the top result. These guys are wonderful. They're all creatives in their own way, and they're all very, very well respected throughout the industry that they work in. They're very hardworking, absolutely committed and dedicated to helping the creative people throughout Northland, whether it be through simple things like starting up a project, all the way through to putting on like an exhibition, for example, all the way through to working out how they can start turning what they do into a business. It's all free advice. They give really, really good guidelines and helpful assistance to make sure that you, as a creative, are able to get the most out of what you do. Creative Northland, highly recommend them. Check them out. Okay, so you are the first artist that we've ever had that's been a musician, and that's been a singer, to actually come on and drop almost a full full verse
I mean,
on us.
Yeah, there's many verses, so
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But so you're 9 years old,
yeah.
getting up on stage. You're in full costume, full regalia. You're going for it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not Sophie Sparrow. I am Sophie Sparrow, the performer. And you're doing all these lessons now. How are you going like multiple times a week? Are you still, how's school going and amongst all of this as well? Because I don't imagine, doing voice lessons and stuff like that necessarily. Does it fit you in with the cool kids at school?
Wow. Because
it didn't for me.
Well,
I went to an all-boys school where it was rugby and cricket, and
Yeah.
being someone that got up on stage to play bottom in the Midsummer Night's Dream didn't endear me with a lot of friends. And yes, I did.
Oh my gosh, did you?
I got runner-up to Best Actor in the Sheila Wynne Shakespeare Festival. The first year they had it, we went down to Wellington. Yes, and yes, I did. And I saw in your bio you played Titania.
I did.
Yeah.
Literally one of my favorite operas. Like, it is the bee's knees. Like, it is absolutely mean. It's sick for all those people. Those are good things.
Butty.
It's butty. It is butty, actually.
It is butty.
It is very butty. That is a butty opera.
It is.
It is next level.
Yep. I didn't do the opera.
No, but the story is
It's
the exact same story.
It's timeless.
But then Britain
Partner
put it
swapping,
to,
amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then Britain set it to the most incredible music that I think I've ever heard. I
Andrew
just
Lloyd
love it.
Webber?
What?
Did he put the music to it?
No, Benjamin Britten.
Okay, right.
Yeah, Benjamin Britten. That's fine. Andrew Lloyd
He's
Webber.
done a few things, hasn't he?
He's done a few things. Not quite that one.
One or
though.
two, yeah.
Yeah. Not quite that one. But in terms of coolness, maybe I just really just ripped that. That was what I did. At primary school, I always sung at assemblies, and then when I was at intermediate, I would still sing in the talent show, and I wouldn't sing like pop songs. I mean, I think I tried one talent show and I just knew it wasn't for me. And
Did you do a pop song?
I
If so, what did you do?
No, I
What
can't.
does... No, come on. You can do it.
No, see, I wouldn't say
I'm not
it was
asking
a
you to
pop
sing it,
song.
but-
I wouldn't say it's a pop song.
Yes.
I can't remember what it was, but it's not a pop song.
Okay.
But it was kind of like a ballad, a bit of a ballad. And
Okay.
From then on out, I was just like, I'm just going to do my stuff. I'm just going to do whatever I do. But I through primary school, through intermediate, through high school, I always sung my classical stuff or musical theatre stuff for my peers.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I was like, this is what I do. And I was known at school for the singer. And I don't know, I would never say I was uncool. I thought I was quite cool. I had lots of friends.
You're a lot cooler than me.
Everyone, most people knew who I was because I went out and did these things,
Yep. You were in the paper.
Oh my gosh, I was in the paper. But I lived a very different upbringing to a lot of my friends at school because they weren't singers or musicians or drama kids as such at the start. But then you kind of when doing musicals with Whangarei Theatre Company and Sweet Pea Productions and doing the shows at school and stuff, I was more surrounded by singers, and I did have a group of singers that I did lessons with. My friend Samantha Smith, who we were duet partners from the age of 8,
really?
9, right until she I think she stopped singing maybe when she was 17, but we did duets for our whole upbringing, our singing stuff. So but yeah, so I think was pretty cool. Still cool. I don't know. We'll roll with that.
Yeah. Let's just say yes.
Yeah, I think I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm cool because I stuck to what I wanted to do and didn't apologize for me as a person that I was into music and I was into musicals and I just ripped that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing. As soon as you try to apologize for what you do and apologize for who you are as a person, then that's uncool. The cool thing is you just being you.
Yeah. I mean, well, it could also go the other way, couldn't it?
Yeah.
You could be like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm so much better than you. It's something that you clearly suck at.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I hope I wasn't
No.
that. No. Oh, my gosh. I'd be so sad if that's what I did.
No, it's yeah. Look, as I said, with all the research that I did beforehand, it didn't come across any douchey articles.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was probably the little kid, like, you can write an article about me, sure, why
Yeah,
not?
go
like,
on.
oh, this is exciting. Yeah. So, and then also what I also started when I was 10 or 11, I started dancing as well. So I danced with Smack, Dance Incorporated, and we did American jazz and contemporary and hip hop and musical theatre stuff. So I was
nice.
dancing as well when I was growing up. So there was another group of people that I hung out with a lot.
Did you do any acting to go with that as well? Because I mean, essentially, it's like they're the three main pillars, right?
Yeah. So in terms of acting, I never did acting training outside of school.
Right.
But I would do. I started doing drama when I was in year 11 or year 10, maybe. And so I did it when I was at high school, when it was my NCA 1, 2, and 3, I think. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. But I did drama at school, but not officially. It was kind of something that I always loved doing, and it was kind of came quite naturally. And I think with doing the musicals as well,
yes.
you got that side as well.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leading with, because obviously you've done so much overseas, and you've got your time in Florence now as well, where you're going out and you're auditioning for stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine there'd be more, like, singing would be the primary, with acting being the secondary, and then dance must being the tertiary, the third of them. Yeah, because I don't see you doing like La Boheme with boy band moves.
No.
Don't see that working
However,
somehow. Oh, go on, tell me that happened.
however, no, not La Boheme, but I did a Dido and Aeneas at the Royal Academy of Music, and one of the big things was that they kind of spiced it up a bit, and we did a lot of dance moves throughout it, like contemporary, like kind of not hip hoppy moves, but like
Crumping.
90s. I mean,
no, crumping.
not crumping, but like, and so we had dance moves with it, and it was great because I was like, finally I can dance and do dance stuff. And actually one at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, where I did my masters.
Yep.
You could do different join different projects which would go towards your masters, and one of the projects that I auditioned for and I wanted to do was the American Songbook, which was...
I've heard of that. Yeah,
so American Songbook is... So we took songs out of there, and we had other kind of operetta and more musical pieces, and the performance that we put on was fully choreographed, and we sung non-classical opera stuff. So it was a great project that I did alongside the other projects that I was doing in my masters that were, for example, French song and German lead, and also opera scenes, and doing my recital, and then doing this other project as well, which did go towards my masters. It was kind of curing that little itch I had to be able to do musical theatre again, because actually when I was growing up, I wanted to pursue musical theatre.
Really?
Yeah. So I remember doing a project that was in intermediate, I think, or early, intermediate, about where we saw ourselves going and what we wanted to do when we left school, and what were our goals. And mine was that I wanted to go to NASDA, which is the musical theatre school in Christchurch.
Yep.
And I did a full research project about how that's where I was going to go, because I was dancing, and I love dancing, and I love performing, I love musicals, still love them, hands down love them. And then it wasn't until I changed teachers and joined, I started working with the late great Joan Kennaway, who was an opera singer and classically trained, and absolutely fantastic voice, like so so inspiring. And I started doing more opera stuff and
Right.
started going down that path and kind of found that I could do opera. And then I joined Opera North and was singing Opera North chorus here in Whangarei. And so even though I was still doing musicals and still dancing and love singing musical theatre, I thought, you know what, the best thing to do is do opera at university.
Right, yeah.
And if I want to go back to musical theatre, I can.
Okay.
Have I done that? No.
Well, but
Even though it's like literally the biggest dream, I would love to do musical theatre.
is it something you could do though?
Definitely certain musicals, yes. The contemporary musicals that come out today, I would need to completely retrain.
Right. Okay.
but-
so like Hamilton and that sort of
Yeah,
like
that's
Oz
like
and those sorts of things.
completely. Oh, my favorite musical is Wicked. I know
Right,
that might be
yeah.
contentious for some people, but it is just something that I know all the words for the whole thing. Like I would put it on driving down to Auckland when I was a teenager and just like listen to the whole soundtrack, and I still know all the words.
That's amazing.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought, you know, if I do opera, I could go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are musicals, like if I did the more traditional ones, like My Fair Lady and Oklahoma and
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera, and I could do
That's
those
Andrew
ones.
Lloyd Webber, eh? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, well done.
I had the very first song I ever sang for a performance piece at drama school was Music of the Night.
Great piece.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing
I
piece.
actually love Phantom of the Opera. I think it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think Michael Crawford, who was the original Phantom,
Yeah.
with Sarah Brightman, is, for me, that magical
Yeah.
duo was just
Yeah.
untouchable.
Yeah. There's some great people doing it now. Like it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
Some people, you know, it's not opera. It's musical theatre.
it is. But there's very operatic themes and elements in there. I think
literally.
especially the way Sarah Brightman did it as well. It was incredibly operatic.
Yeah. Well, you've got like Carlotta, who's literally an opera singer.
Yes,
in the opera, and it's set in an opera house.
It is.
You know, so
and it's in the title.
it's in it's
in the title.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. That often gives it away as well.
Yeah, but it's more musical theatre singers that would do it, I would say, or crossover classical singers often do it.
Okay,
that have
yeah.
like a quality that has the musical theatre side to it as well.
Yeah.
So I would say like I would love to do it, and there's so many out there, like a lot of like Sondheim musicals and stuff, like they're actually really tricky, and like Sweeney Todd, amazing.
Oh, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of musicals that opera singers are kind of going into, and that you can do a lot of crossover, and like Carousel and
Yep.
Company. So yeah, I would love to do it, and maybe that's something I do later on. And no, I'm never gonna say no to it. I'm not gonna.
You're not going to pigeon yourself and
No.
say, this is my lane and I will exclusively
No.
stick here.
Yeah, well,
If
for opera, I have to, like, for
Yeah.
the time being.
Yeah.
But say I get older and I get asked to do some cool role in something, and
Yeah.
I think it is the right thing for me, and that it is with the right training background, I'm not going to jeopardize my voice, and I'm going to be able to sing how I sing.
Yep.
And that means that maybe that is a role in some musical, then sure,
Yep.
why not?
From New Zealand, you went overseas. Well, actually, you did quite a bit here before you left,
yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah.
There was the... oh, man. It's all just gone.
I did
Yeah.
university.
Did uni.
I did uni. I did my undergrad, did my honours in music, and then I also did a Bachelor of Commerce in accounting.
Yeah, but you've already, what, by the age of 5 or 6, you already worked out how to make money off mum and dad. Woohoo!
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think that's called extortion. It's not, because it's your parents and it's fine.
Yeah, it was only 50 cents.
Exactly.
It was only 50 cents.
But back in those days, that's a good bag of lollies.
So
Hell
good.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Those tangy apples.
Yep.
Oh, and
Tangy
the
fruits.
Tangy fruits.
Yeah.
But you know the tangy apples that were in the paper, and you had tangy grapes as well.
Yep.
Oh, they were the best. I
know.
loved them. Do they still do them?
Producer Andrew is nodding his head saying yes, so I will say yes.
Well, I'm going to get some of those.
There
at
you go.
some point.
Yeah, hell yeah. Take a bag with you back home.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
So you did your honours in New Zealand.
Yep.
You also entered a few competitions. You entered a lot of competitions, really, didn't you?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be my thing. I was doing a lot. It literally, like I said, from the age of 8, I did competitions everywhere. And I'd do them also around the country. I wouldn't just do whangarei.
Yeah.
I would do like New Plymouth, Rotorua, Hamilton. But when I got older, after university and during university, I do Dunedin competitions. And then
you did national comps as well, right?
Yeah, I did the Lexus Song Quest
Yes.
in 2016.
Yep.
And that was, I just finished my final term of university, I think, at that point. And I made the semi-finals for that, which was really cool at being quite young at the time. And then I also would do New Zealand aria, which at one point I made the finals. Don't know what year that was. But yeah, I did a lot of competitions and the Wellington aria, and I won that in 2019, I think.
Yep.
And I did a lot in 2018. Also the National Young Performer Awards, I think, and I came third in that. Maybe that was 2018 before I left. So I did a lot of competitions growing up. I think what you learn from them is to bounce back. I think that's the biggest thing that
It's resilience, right?
Huge resilience. So you wouldn't just do one song or one aria. You would do all the different classes, right? And you'd do the aria competition. So you may do one class in the morning and you might absolutely stuff your piece up. It might not go well at all, and you've got another class in half an hour. And what do? Do you let that one song that you've just absolutely destroyed affect the next one? No, you have to like pick yourself up and keep going. And you might not place it all in a whole bunch of classes and then do really well in another one. And I even remember, I think when I was when I won the Wellington aria, the Dame Malvina Major Foundation Wellington aria, they were the big sponsors at the time, that I don't even think I did very well in all the song classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I might have got a few placings here and there, or like thirds or highly commended or something. And I was like, oh God, I've got no shot in this aria. Like, I'm not, maybe I'm not quite the cup of tea of this judge.
Yeah.
But it absolutely was, and I won the aria, and it was just like, you can be good at certain things, and other people can have better songs and be singing better than you in certain things, or be more what the judge wants for that particular class. And the thing is, with competitions, you can never predict how it's going to go.
No.
You could think that you've sung the best that you think, and you're like, wow, I'm really happy with that, and then get nowhere, because it's so subjective. And they know what they want, and they go, that's what I want. And especially when everyone's kind of at a similar level, you may have a few like higher ones and a few lower ones, but like everyone's at a really high standard in this country. And so it's so subjective, and that's why I say it's about building resilience and grit and just determination just to keep going. That you just go, well, that wasn't their cup of tea, and I can't let it affect the next bit or the rest of the weekend or this next competition that I have to do in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So, and there's a special type of, like, I think definitely you have sometimes really good competition singers, and some people just are not competition singers. They they find it really hard, and that's completely understandable. And even to this day, like, they're not easy, and you just,
I imagine when you're competing at that level, though, because, as you said, that's the top,
in this country,
When you're competing at the top nationally, it might take you to be half a tone out on a note and have someone go, it's just not quite.
Yeah.
Because it's that precise, along with, what's the judge's mood for the day?
Yeah. I mean, I remember one competition that I did that one judge said to me, I can't remember exactly where it was, but she said, yeah, I had you in for second, and then you did something in that aria, and then I just couldn't give it to you. And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Brutal note.
yeah, but I was like, okay, fair enough. And
Right. Next.
Literally next.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now I think about it, I also made the semis for the IFAC
Yes.
Handel Australian Young Singers competition as well, 2018, right before I left to London. So, I was doing things in New Zealand and Australia, but with the competition scene and I worked with New Zealand Opera as well and their chorus, and did some stuff with Opera Otago, and and then I moved to London.
Well, now that's interesting in itself, because that's not, that's not just flying across to London for your OE.
Oh no.
That's taken that study like not up a notch. That's like a whole bracket.
Yeah.
That's next level stuff, and there's not many people that will be able to say, if you're an actor, it's like I went and studied at RADA.
Yeah.
It's that comparable, right? You're like in the elite of the elite. You're competing against thousands of entrants from around the world for a handful of spots.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
And you got in.
I did. So in 2017, I did an audition tour around the UK, because you have to audition a year before you would start, right? So I was auditioning in November, December 2017 to start in September 2018.
Yep.
And I auditioned at Guildhall School of Music and Drama, the Royal Academy of Music, the Royal College of Music. Where else did I audition? I didn't do Royal Northern. I did Royal Scottish. So all the top conservatoires in the UK.
Yeah.
And some of the top conservatoires in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the elite. This is where like the pros go. Most people, when they think of female opera singers, Dame Kirikanua, Dame Alvina Major.
Yep.
So you're up there.
Well,
you're getting there.
I don't know if I can ever put myself in the category of those two fantastic people and amazing singers and the stuff they've done. I mean, I would love to eventually in my time, but those two are really the cream of the crop,
My son would say God tier.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. So, so I auditioned all these places and actually got in everywhere.
Wait, you got selected for all of them?
Yeah. So I got a place in all of them.
Yeah.
And then so what it came down to was how much money they were going to give me. Where I decided to go, because
scholarships and stuff like that?
Scholarships, yeah.
Right.
Because
okay.
As an international student, to do your masters, it is £24,000 per year. So
okay,
that
right.
was like
yeah.
That's 48,000 New Zealand dollars. That's just for the course.
That's not living.
That's not living.
That's no food.
That's
no
not
accommodation.
Food, no accommodation. And I really wanted to be in London. And so kind of I was like, okay, what do I have to do? I have to apply for scholarships here as well. And then Guildhall came through with a big chunk of money, about half. I was on like a half scholarship, the highest that they would give to international students, which was £12,000. So it's like half your the course fees. And so the rest of it I fundraised for my first year, and I got some support from the Dame Alvina Major Foundation and the New Zealand Opera Foundation. They gave me some support, and most of the rest of it was fundraising. I did a boosted campaign. I did lots of concerts everywhere. I had some support from my parents when I really was in dire need, when money was running out. Yeah. And then, it wasn't until my second year of my master's that I got support from the Kiwi Music Foundation, which is they supported me, through my for second year at Guildhall and my 2 years at the Royal Academy of Music. So they have, I can't thank them enough for the money that they have given me. Like, it literally would be impossible to do it without big scholarships. As much fundraising as you do, it's literally unheard of. The amount of money.
Those are mortgages, right?
Oh, the amount of money I have dropped on my education is insane. And it's not possible without the support of foundations in this country and foundations in the UK. I got supported by the Countess of Munster Foundation and then Help Musicians as well in the UK. So what was amazing in my second year of my master's, I was getting supported by UK foundations, which is really showing that I was like, okay, so this is cool. Like, I'm getting selected from people here as well. I'm competing against people in this country and international people in this country for these scholarships. It's not just New Zealanders now. And I was getting them, which was really amazing. And once again, without their support, it was literally impossible to live there, especially in London. Like, it is next level how expensive it is in London to live. Like, unheard of. So, that was the best thing, is that having that support. I wouldn't have done it without them.
But we were talking about all of the funding that you've had over the years. Now, you're in Florence. You're a paid employee where you essentially sing and study and sing and then study more, right? Because you're essentially being tutored by people that have been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah, that's the question I want to ask. If you were to think through your entire journey so far, because you've been doing it for 21 years, give or take, a while. Who do you think your biggest influences are? And who would you consider to be your mentor or mentors?
I would say, like, my biggest influence, I said this earlier, that that really got me into singing opera was Joan Kenaway, who from here, Whangarei, and Rick Kenaway. But she was just like, the way that she sung and the voice that she had on her and her passion for music and her passion for teaching and her just joy around it all, like, she made it seem achievable in ways that, like, I don't know whether at that age I was like, I'm going to do it as a job, or whether I'll ever get to a level, whether I still will get to a level that it's like a full-time thing. But she instilled that it could be a possibility, and just the sounds. I remember her singing Velia from The Merry Widow, because originally Dame Malvina Major was coming up and she was a guest artist at the Opera in the Garden. And Joan sung it for one of our rehearsals because Dame Malvina Major wasn't there yet. And she sung it, and I just thought, wow, she might have been like 70 at the time.
Okay.
And just the sound that she was creating was just absolutely spectacular. It was stunning. It was precise. It was technically correct. It was just the most beautiful sound. And I just knew that I wanted to create sounds like she was creating. And that, like, that I could, because she was teaching me and she taught me how to really, like, float the sound and create these beautiful timbres to my voice that were naturally there but were always there, but she brought them out, right? And this technique of not pushing and really just floating the voice, that came from her. And then that was developed more, and my teacher Frances Wilson, before I left, who's at the Auckland Opera Studio, she would train me for my last 2 years of my degree, and then when I did 2 years between my undergrad and my master's at the Auckland Opera Studio, she was also of the mindset that Dame Sister Mary Leo, who was the teacher of Kiri Te Kanawa,
Oh, wow.
Dame Malvina Major, Joan Kennaway,
Yeah.
and Frances Wilson is a pianist, and she used to play for her lessons. So all this teaching from this old teacher, the Sister Mary Leo, the same way that Kiri Te Kanawa sings, the same way that Dame Malvina Major sings, the same way that Joan was singing, was then getting passed on to me, not putting myself at all in the realms of those people, but the teachings that they were this light, beautiful ability to float, and the sounds, and just really singing with your voice. And to this day, I think one of the special things that I think that you get asked a lot in your training, what's your USP, what's your unique selling point? And I think the one thing as an artist, it's very hard to do that, and hard to say, what am I?
We were talking about that
what's
before,
my good
weren't we?
thing?
Yeah.
You know, what's my one thing that like makes me different?
Self-promotion, yeah.
Self-promotion, or just not being arrogant by saying, oh, maybe this is what I do well. You know, what makes me different? But I think one thing that does make me different is something that I have been told by a lot of all the agents that have come into Masquerade in the past 3 months. They've all said the same thing, and it's my top notes and the timbre and the quality of my high notes. They're like, it's very kind of like airy and beautiful. Ethereal, yeah, kind of. And I do think that's what makes me different to some other sopranos, is like that timbre of that sound that I have that is naturally there, but also I think was embraced and developed through my trainings with Joan Kennaway, and then with Frances, and then with later teachings in London as well. They really developed that more, and didn't ever want me to lose that, because that was what made me different, and is what probably makes me different, and why singing roles such as Titania I love, because things that sometimes other sopranos find difficult, I find easier. And like doing that quite high ethereal kind of stuff, and I love it because it's kind of like spooky and interesting, and but yeah, I would say Joan was really that fundamental inspiration for me. And obviously going forward now, she's not here, but I know she's watching over us and seeing all these wonderful things that I'm doing and things, and but ongoing inspirations is my colleagues, and seeing all these amazing things that people at my age or at my level or the level above are doing. And when you're constantly around it, and these incredible singers, like I'm just surrounded by incredible singers, it just makes you want to keep working and fix that one thing, and it's not a competitive thing, it's purely like an inspiration and a drive.
A healthy competition, right?
Yeah, well,
because when one of you gets better, you lift the rest of the people up, and then if another one, like if someone else is able to hit something else better, you kind of lift everyone up, and essentially you're helping lift each other up to be at the absolute A game.
Yeah, if you have that mindset, because some people don't have that mindset,
it's
and
a cutthroat competition.
Yeah, you know, and it really is. But
kill them all.
Yeah, but I think especially what I'm really lucky with being at Masquerade Opera Foundation as a resident artist is that all the people that are my colleagues there are all of that mindset, that like we're in this. We're not competing against each other. First of all, I mean, in my year, I'm the only soprano in the first year, so it's one of each voice type.
Right, okay.
But seeing them do well, it's just like, oh, I want to do well too. And seeing them create these amazing sounds, you know, it's inspiring. And having a team behind you, like I do with Dr. Ralph Strainer and Julia Lynch and Jonathan Papp. It's like a team, an artistic team that just wants you to do well.
Yeah.
And get better and put you in front of people, and they want the best for you. And so it's kind of like you've got agents as well as being in an opera studio. But I think biggest inspiration is just being around incredible singers that are also your friends. You know, it's an amazing thing.
The cutthroat competition part's essentially done, right? Well, because I'm having done creative school, you kind of have that. Oh, we'll all work together as a team.
Yeah.
You know, there's a great saying that I always sort of liked, and when I studied, I found it very applicable. The throat you crush on the way up belongs to the ass you kiss on the way down.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah,
because in creativity, whether it be music or dance or drama or any of the disciplines, when you're in a school environment, it's gonna do anything I can to get one up because I want to get noticed because I want to go here and I want to do this and that. But now that you're in the masquerade, is that right? Masquerade?
Yeah, Masquerade Opera Foundation, yeah.
That cutthroat competition's essentially done because that's the schooling part, right? You do your degree, your honours, your masters.
Yeah.
That side of things is done. Now you're at the point where you're like, I can learn with equals who are peers, and I'm not forking out an arm and a leg to learn. I'm getting paid to learn.
Yeah, I would say yes and no. I think when I did my opera school at Royal Academy of Music, because that was kind of like a transition into the opera scene, into the industry,
right?
That we were actually, for those 2 years, in my year there was only 9 of us. And
nine
from
people. The world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
But they have like opera schools. I'm like going to talk down they have opera schools at Guildhall, and they have opera schools at college and at the top.
Different levels.
Well, they're all at a high level. All the opera schools are all at a really amazing level.
Yeah.
But they'll have one at each of the conservatoires. So it's like the next level if you follow opera.
Right.
And they'll have 2 years of it, and the max usually each opera school will take is 10 people per year. And so I was at Academy doing it, and I felt that like when I was there, that was kind of the competitive nature also kind of gone because I was selected as one of, I think there was 3 sopranos in my year, and that was on full scholarship. So, and then essentially everything, my living costs were all scholarship as well. So it kind of felt like I was getting paid to study anyway. Because I wasn't really working. I was lucky enough to.
Well, you've done no need for fundraising and all that sort of stuff, right?
No,
it's all paid for. You've got the financial burden is lifted.
Yeah. I mean, I would do some like ushering if I needed extra money that wouldn't be covered by my scholarships for my living and stuff. But so I think being at Masquerade, it's the competitive nature is kind of gone, but you're still constantly competing for roles. You're constantly, when you do auditions, you're in the environment that you want to sing well because they might have seen someone that has sung better, which you have no control over, right?
Yeah,
literally
none
zero.
at all.
And you also have no idea how everyone else is singing. So when you go into these auditions, all you can do is do your best.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, and it might be perfect for them, and it might be like, great, we think I want that on our stage, or I want to represent you, or they might have seen someone else that they like better. So like there's always an underlying competition somewhere that you don't know who you're competing with really, you know.
Okay.
Or if you're doing competitions, you do directly know who you're competing with because you're doing a competition, which is still a huge thing at this level, and because I'm still on a young artist kind of level, I am a really young singer, even though
29. That's
young. Sometimes I think I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting old, and I turn 30 next year, and I always say to my director, I'm like, I'm getting so old. He's like, no one cares how old you are. Literally, no one cares it's coming because you've the type of soprano you are, you've got a fresh voice, you still look fresh, like literally don't worry about it. But I'm like, oh my gosh. But in in the opera scene, that's young. You know, like I am a young artist.
Yeah.
You know, and I think sometimes coming from New Zealand, when you do stuff here and you go overseas, you're like, oh, I must be old. But you get in the world and you're like, I'm so young. There's still so much that I need to learn. And I will always be learning, literally always be learning, which is exciting, to be fair. Every day I learn something new, which keeps it always different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm very, very lucky. And I think that keeps us young as well, maybe, that, you know, we're not doing all the same things. So yeah, being a young artist, there's so much to go, you know?
Yeah.
There's so much.
Well, it's, you know, one of the things that we love about doing this podcast, and the whole podcast was basically myself and producer Andrew, we started working together and we kind of thought, well, it'd be kind of cool if we could find a project. Came up with the idea and here we are. You know, when we sit down with fellow creative, we always learn something. And often it's more than just one thing, which is absolutely amazing. So for us to be able to have people like yourself and all of the other guests that we've had through 2022 and now as we break into 2023, you know, it's the learning curve, you're right, never stops. I mean, we've had you know, we had a Potter on early in the podcast, and she was talking about you know, I do stuff with paper clay, and my question was, what's paper clay? I'm thinking it's some technical thing, and she goes, it's clay with paper in it. And I was like, yep, I just learnt something. Number one, that I'm an idiot. And number two, that there is such a thing as paper clay. Yeah. And, you know, that's why we love getting people like yourself and like all the other artists we've had come in so far and that will continue to come in and sit down with us. I guess the thing that I'm going to ask a question that our listeners and viewers will probably want to know is that as a singer, your instrument is your voice, right?
Yep.
But it's not just the voice. No. It's actually the whole body.
Yep.
What is the discipline that goes into maintaining the voice?
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Here we go.
Well, like, as you can probably sound like, I'm quite bunged up. Like, I've got quite bad hay fever.
Welcome back to Northland.
You know, welcome back to
Never had hay fever until I moved here.
Legit. New Zealand, I'd gone to the country. I was like, oh gosh, I'm so bunged up. And like you can hear it in your voice, and you know you have to steam, and I need to do some steaming when I get home. But I also do a lot of yoga, and I run, and sleep is a huge thing. I should sleep more. You can't burn the candle at both ends, which I do too much of. But it's the thing about singing is that, like you said, it's like it's your body.
Yeah.
It's in you. You can't just take it out and leave it somewhere.
No.
As much as I would love to do that most of the time, because then you know that like you've put it away at some point.
It's in a safe place.
It's in a safe place.
I can go get shit-faced.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll be fine.
Exactly.
It's not like a guitar.
Yeah. But I do constantly think about that. You know, like it is always there, and if I do want to have some drinks or something, I'm like, do I have to sing tomorrow? What time do I have to sing tomorrow? Am I singing tomorrow? Or do I have the day off and can I just like rest and do silent practice? Or can I do other things that are part of the job as well that isn't actually vocalizing? And, you know, you are constantly thinking about that. And I know that was even when I was growing up. I remember as a teenager, I was like, I just kind of want to be normal. I want to be normal. I don't want to have to think about my voice.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like that when I was like a 16-year-old girl. And I still think like that because I don't want to ruin this thing that I'm really lucky to have.
Yes.
and keep working on. And to be fair, quite, you know, disciplined enough to, you know, it could always be more disciplined. There's always procrastination when you have a job sometimes. Wow. You know, like, sometimes like, oh, I really need to learn that music. Go look at it in an hour, you know. But it's just like any artist, like you're like, oh, I'll just do that in an hour.
Yeah.
But that's life, you know. But as a singer, it just it's always a part of you, and you have to think about your whole body. You really do. Like food as well is about another big thing.
Yep.
If I've got a show the next day,
No dairy.
I don't do dairy. I won't really eat spicy food. Because more than anything, like the burning, like I also, if anything's going to upset my stomach, if I'm unsure if my body's going to cope well with it, I just won't touch it. Because like, if you don't have support, if you feel sick, it's so hard to like fight through that.
Oh, yep.
You know, like, and there's just so many things. I mean, you would know as well, but also like as a woman, like if I can be frank about it, like women's periods also affect their voice as well.
Really?
Yeah, it can.
How badly?
Like people range. I don't really notice it, but I know people that it completely like changes the thickness of their vocal folds when they're on their periods. Like this is a huge thing that happens, and women don't realize. Babies as well. If you want to have children, you have to plan when you're gonna have a child, because the support that you have when you have the child and when you don't have the child, and I mean, that's a whole, like...
I think those two things themselves are almost a whole podcast.
Yeah, they are. Definitely a podcast of how to deal with it in childcare.
Yep. You know, and like even, I imagine even, you know, having to push a child out is diaphragmatic, very bad as well, especially if you've got to sing from the core.
Yep, exactly. And so, and also if you have a C-section, that's even harder because you have to recover from that, going through the abs. And so... these are all things that you think about. And also as a almost 30, I have to think about also, if I want children, when am I going to have children? Like when will I plan to have them? And do I want to keep doing my singing? What's the realistic chance that I can keep singing afterwards? Or when's the right time, you know? But this isn't just in singing, let's be real. This is in all careers for women. They decide, do I do both? When can I do it? When I can't do it? Like you said, that's a whole podcast in itself, like chats about it. So, I mean, it's also an industry that looks matter. The whole world is telling you that you have to look a certain way. And here I am sitting in like jeans and docks, and I wanted to make that very clear that I didn't come in a dress. Because
could have turned up in a gown made by mum.
But like as an opera singer these days, it's 2022, almost 2023.
Yep.
I don't think there's not a look to an opera singer. I don't think there should be, but there are traditionalists around that say that an opera singer looks a certain way. But I have a nose ring and I wear Doc Martens, and I'm 29 and I enjoy fashion that isn't wearing a dress all the time.
Flowy gown.
I like wearing jeans and baggy jeans, and that's a part of my fashion, and you could be an opera singer and still wear clothes like that, you know. So we got to break down those stereotypes of what opera singers look like, because everyone is often surprised when I say I sing opera, because they're like, you don't look like an opera singer. I'm like, what does an opera singer look like?
It's all right. I used to say to people, so when I was doing my I won't call it singing, I'll call it Cookie Monster growling. When I was doing that, I was doing JB Hi-Fi's in Auckland. And, you know, I'd meet customers on like a Thursday or a Friday, and it'd be like, I'm going on tour. What sort of music do you do? Guess. Just take a guess. I don't know. Country. I was like, no, it's good though. I once got insulted. Someone said to me, Nickelback, and I was like, no. Ooh. No discounts for you, leave. But I would always say death metal, and they'd be like, you don't look like that. And it would be like, what does a death metal guy look like? Well, he's got long black hair, he's unkempt, wears a lot of black, smells like week-old tobacco, weed, and like he's recovering from a hangover. And I'm like, don't drink, gave up drugs years ago, and stopped smoking. I like sauces. Not exactly metal, but yeah.
It's like what society has in their mind about what it is, right? And so I think I like to just really, another reason, when that earlier question, like whether I was cool when I was growing up singing, I just like very much this day don't want to lose who I am as a person and what I stand for and the look that I am and who I am. I'm not going to change, because I think then that's no longer genuine and people see that. And I think as a singer and an artist, to really be true to yourself and true to your art and what you're trying to produce, you have to be genuine, and otherwise people see through it.
Northland Artists Conversation is incredibly proud to support Rayburn House. Rayburn House is an art gallery located in the town basin in Whangarei. Rayburn House is the oldest house that's in the Whangarei city limits. Got converted into an art gallery, and it's an absolutely amazing space. They hold exhibitions all year round, and it's a lot of different stuff in there. So you might have like pottery one week or digital media another. You might have like mixed media. Lots of really, really cool exhibitions they have in there. They have these really fun opening nights as well that you can go to if you're invited, and it's where the artists kind of get to mingle with other people as well, and you really get to celebrate what's on presentation, what's on offer. They've also got a lovely little area as well where they have sort of different little bits and pieces that you can buy if you want to as well, and really support Rayburn House. So such a fantastic organisation. Northland Artists Conversation is incredibly proud to support Rayburn House. So what happens next for you? You're obviously back in New Zealand. You're on essentially a working holiday, right? Because you're going to do some singing. You're going to do some holidaying and fuck all.
Yeah.
But you obviously still got to do your maintaining, right? But then what happens when you head back? Because you're going to head back in January, kind of the first, second week of January. Podcast will be out. Where will people be like, oh, where is Sophie and what is she doing?
Okay, so I mean, at that point, I will be back in Florence.
Okay.
And I'll be straight back into music rehearsals and coachings for, I have upcoming concerts and showcases. So in February, I'm doing a concert at Fidelio Cafe, I believe, in London. Doing operas, arias and stuff.
Right. Opera bits
and stuff, yeah. And then I'll also be turning 30. Boom, boom, boom. The big 3-0. Whoa.
Right. No drinks, because you're going to have a concert the next night, more than likely.
Maybe, like 6 days later. Yeah, I do have a concert.
Really?
Yeah. But you know what? We can, it'll be fine.
You can have a semi-blowout.
Yeah, after the concert, but,
Vodka, yes, beer, no.
Oh, gosh. There's lots of things you can do without drinking and make it fun. I think I might go to Amsterdam for my 30th. I'm really, love that place.
Why.
No, I went there recently, and it is the best city. It is amazing. It's on the water. You're cycling everywhere. It's such a vibe.
I can do that at Waiheke. I can do that around the town basin. There's the purple scooters. I don't know if you've seen them. You swipe your card and go, yep, good times.
They have those here now.
They do.
They do. Whangarei's moving up.
I know, and so many accidents. Anyway.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
I have. So you've got your first performance back in Feb, right?
Yep, in Feb, and we head across to London and do that and come back. And then in March, I have another ensemble concert at Masquerade in Florence.
Yes. Is that the big one? Or is that May?
That's May.
May, right.
Look at you knowing your stuff.
Oh,
I didn't even write that down on the question.
No, you didn't. But,
didn't answer that at all.
Got to pay attention.
Yeah, so May is at La Fenice in Venice. Yep. We have a big showcase with the orchestra there.
Is this the big piece for the year?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yep.
It's like the big showcase that people will go to, and I think hopefully my parents will be able to come over for the first time.
Wow.
And see me sing, so that'd be really cool. And that's in May, and then I have another concert that we're doing some songs at the British Institute in Florence, with another song concert. And then I think there's also a 1-act opera that Masquerade's putting on in June. We don't know what that is yet. They're still trying to work that out.
Okay.
And whether I'm doing that or not. So I have a lot of repertoire. And also during that time, I think I might try and enter a few competitions. So yeah, I have a stack of repertoire to learn also while I'm home.
Yeah.
So it's not only over the December period, not just doing the concerts and having a bit of holiday, but it's also singing and learning that music, which is a lot of time. That is a lot of the job, is learning the repertoire for your concerts.
It's interesting. You have said the job about 6 or 7 times now.
Oh gosh.
Is this what you consider it to be? And by proxy, does that make you a professional singer? Because it has to.
Oh.
Because you now consider it a job. You are paid. You are a paid employee.
Yeah.
That makes you a professional singer. I mean, I've been doing management and sales for decades, right? I would consider myself a sales professional.
Yeah.
You must be.
I mean,
a singing professional. You are a paid employee of an organisation.
Yes, but I think I would say so. I was working for Glyndebourne Festival Opera for 5 months between March 2022 and September. Yeah. So during that period, I'm like, I'm a professional singer. I literally get paid by an opera company to perform in operas. I performed in like 48 operas in the chorus. And then, we had a lot. We were doing a lot. The chorus does so much at Glyndebourne, but they look after you so well. Like they pay you what you're worth.
Comfortably.
They pay you an actual salary, like a good salary. Yeah. For a singer, maybe not in other industries, but like they look after you and they pay you for what you're worth. And if you work overtime, you get paid for that. And it's an amazing opera company. And I was so grateful to work for them. And I hope to maybe work for them in the future and
foster that relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And I was covering a small role, Barbarina, in Le Nozze di Figaro, which was also great. And so during that period, I would say yes, I was a professional singer. But like you said, I suppose because now I'm doing a young artist program, and it's quite confusing for some people because it's not in an opera house and it's kind of a studio attached not to one opera house, and I'm not doing operas all the time. I'm doing concerts in it. It's a kind of new studio. Yeah. It's hard for people to see it as a job, but like it is my job. Yeah. It is my job. I get paid to do it. And
if you were to take this 5 weeks off and do no voice work, no learning of the arias and the pieces, you won't. Obviously, you'll put the slog in, right?
Yeah, of course.
But if you did none of that, you'd get back there and they'd be like, Sophie, what have you been doing? The terrible Italian accent. But there would be questions as to what the hell you have been doing for this period of time. We are paying you. Yeah. Why don't you know your shit?
Yeah. But they're also great. They really do want to make sure I do take like a couple of weeks off, because I have been all go for the past like year and a half. And like because during the summer there was no time. I literally went from my end of my opera school, the last term. The opera finished on my last show was on a Friday. Yeah. I started Glyndebourne on the following Monday, and I did Glyndebourne for 5 months, and then I finished my final show of Glyndebourne on a Sunday, and then moved to Florence the following Wednesday. So I was literally like in between all these 3 days in between each these like big changes in my life. But so they're very like, yes, do make sure you do some work, and obviously I have permission to do these concerts and things. Yeah. But also please take some time to actually have like a break.
Like a holiday, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean other people take holidays. I need to take a holiday too. other professions.
Oh, yeah.
You take 2 weeks off and don't do any work.
Yeah.
But it's very hard when it is literally inside of you, right?
Well, it's hard when your whole body is your instrument.
Yeah.
You can't go, 2 weeks. Hello, Krispy Kreme. You're like, if only Krispy Kreme, beer.
Yeah, I mean, but you do, and you're allowed to do it, and like you're absolutely allowed to do it. And I think it's just always been aware of,
Well, it's an awareness, right?
It's just awareness and what works for you.
You have one donut, not one box.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can have
one
you
box.
can totally have one box. I think like
You're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, but in this industry, like you can be whatever you want to be, but just knowing what feels good for you, and knowing what's going to benefit you and your body and your voice is the main thing.
Yeah.
And so you can't really take time off knowing that that's always with you, which is hard, but
it's kind of always lurking in the background.
It's always.
Right? Yeah.
What's so funny is I had a dream the other night.
Yes.
And I literally was after the concert that I did on Sunday at the Auckland Studio, and I had a dream about how I'd gone to this rehearsal, this for March concert.
Yes.
And I didn't know the words or something for this piece, and I woke up, I was like, oh my god, I really need to start learning that music. And this is for a concert in March, and like I had like run out of time or something, so my subconscious is like, you need to start get onto that. And I've been back for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been away from Florence for 1 week.
You've been away, but then you've had stress because you've had no luggage.
Yeah. No luggage. Yeah, that didn't turn up for a full week. But to be fair, I think my sister, like I was saying to you earlier, my sister literally said to me, why are you not more stressed about this?
Yeah.
Why are you so calm? I was like, well, I can't really do anything about it. I'll go out and buy a dress for this concert because I don't have a dress. I need to buy makeup, and I have travel insurance, so hopefully that comes through and covers that.
Yeah.
But in the end, I just have to keep going. But the biggest thing about that, and something that I have realized since I've come home, is that the past year, I have been going to therapy that I've been needing to go for a long time, and I have really been practicing mindfulness and with yoga as well.
Yep.
Like it's a huge one of the benefits, other than that you become really strong and flexible, is that with yoga you practice mindfulness and focus,
meditation,
you're meditating the whole time, otherwise you'll fall out of it. You have to be in the room, and being back and being hit with these situations that maybe in the past I had quite bad anxiety about.
Yeah.
I've just been like, there's no anxiety here. Like I'm not anxious about this because I am practicing my mindfulness, and I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? They don't turn up their possessions.
Yeah.
That's nothing bad is really going to happen from this. I'm just going to lose a few things, and that's not the biggest thing in this world. And when I sung at the Auckland Opera Studio on Sunday, I also noticed that this practice and this therapy and my yoga, and it all just came even more into a situation that I didn't have contacts, right?
Yeah.
And so I was singing without my glasses, so everyone was pretty blurry. I made a total stuff up of one of the lines. I am very good with going around in circles and making sure I don't show it at all.
Right.
But my heart never started racing. Nothing. I was so calm, and I was like, it wasn't perfect, but you know what? That's totally fine because I'm a human being. And just really being back in New Zealand, seeing the work that I've done in the past year is really amazing.
Would you have worried about that before?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Absolutely. I would have been like, oh, that was a bad note. Oh, what are they going to think of me? Oh, that's really shit. Because as a singer, you are constantly judging yourself. And I'm not saying I don't do that and I don't have a long way to go. I still do that as a singer, and I'm still really hard on myself. And it's something that we talk about a lot with, in the studio, about how to minimize that negative little thing on your shoulder.
Cutting yourself a bit of slack.
Cutting yourself some slack and just really like telling that little person to shut up and go away.
And fuck off.
Yeah, literally. And that's just something constantly we deal with, and I'm constantly dealing with, and telling that person to shut up, you know. And seeing it, you know, more and more happen back in an environment that I was a lot more anxious, you know, when I would come home.
Yep.
And that was kind of gone. And, you know, like, especially with this luggage situation, I was like,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. And when you see other people getting more frustrated about it than I was, it's really interesting, you know, and it's really exciting to see, you know, the growth that I am doing as a person and as a singer. And being at Masquerade Opera Foundation and them supporting that growth, and they think it's just as important to focus on you as a person and grow as a person to growing as a singer. They come hand in hand.
You can't detach one without the other. They have to work in harmony together, right?
Yeah. And like this industry's hard. And we all know it's hard. It's hard to keep doing it. There's sacrifices that you make. I'm away from my family constantly. Yeah. You know, like...
Got to look a certain way.
You know, and like...
Those expectations.
There are expectations, and you kind of also want to like bash those expectations and be like, stuff that. I don't care. But, you know, there are constantly things around you, and like the money as well, finances, it's never straightforward. And so there's so many sacrifices that I've already made, and I know that I will have to continue to make if I want to keep doing this. Yeah. And so the biggest thing is being happy while you do it. And I always say, someone said to me, they're like, well, how long do you want to keep doing this? I was like, as long as it brings me joy and as long as I'm happy. I haven't always been happy doing it, but then you do get happy, and then you like, you know, it pushes down all the bad things that have happened, and then you're like, and now it's poos again, and I'm still doing it, but like it's a bit of a drug, and it's an addiction that you have to the highs that you feel around it. But in the end, it's about like looking after yourself, your mental health as well, in this situation where you are away from your family, you don't live in the same country, you know, you have sacrifices that you make.
Yeah, the only people you know are your classmates and the tutors.
Yeah, and the thing
or
is,
your mentors or
my mentors
trainers.
and colleagues, and like, but you also just put yourself out of the box constantly. Every time I move to a new place or do a new opera, I meet new people, and I think I thrive off that as well. That's a part of it that I love, that I've met so many incredible people all around the world that live now not necessarily in the same city as I do, and I don't live with them, but I know so many cool people literally from all around the world, and that's only going to keep growing, you know, with more and more of the opera that I do, that I hope to do, and that's the exciting part about it. And you're constantly working with different people, but that's a part of the job that some people also don't like, right? And some people don't want, it's the traveling around. But I think I'm at a time in my life that
you can do
take
it
me anywhere.
Like
I'm ready for whatever life throws at me, and I'm excited about the adventure that I'm on, and this let's see where it takes me. Why not?
One last question for you before we wrap up, and this is really a follow-on question to what you were just saying. Where do you see yourself ending up?
Oh, that is such a big question.
That's a loaded question.
That's a loaded question.
I know.
Because honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I would like eventually to have a family, I think, and I would like whatever that family to be and whoever that family to be with, or in any form that may be. I would love children to grow up in New Zealand because I had the most amazing upbringing in this country. Like, I absolutely love New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It has its downfalls like every other country, but I think it is an incredible place. But when that is, I don't know, and I want to keep exploring the world, and there's so much of the world I haven't seen, and there's so much out there, and I just love that I'm living this life that I don't necessarily think I ever imagined I would be living, it kind of seemed unattainable. Who would have thought I would be living in Florence, Italy, and singing
I'm sure
every day, you know?
Ms. Kenaway would have said that.
I mean, yeah, maybe she might have said that, but, you know, and I don't know where my
believed
next...
in you.
She did, she really did. She believed in me wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I thank her so much for that. And I know that all my teachers have believed in me as well, and still do believe in me. And it's about believing in yourself and knowing that, you know, you can do it. Self-belief's a big one. That's a big one.
It is.
But yeah, I don't know where the next step is and where that is and whether I have a base somewhere and I travel from that. But I'm excited by the unknown as well. And whatever that is exciting. And yeah.
Great answer. Sophie Sparrow, thank you so much for coming in and sitting down with us today. On behalf of the whole team of Northland Artists Conversation, thank you very much for choosing to take a little bit of time out from your holiday, come to the studio and chat with us. And, you know, this podcast will come out the first week of 2023. And, you know, we sincerely thank you for sharing yourself, because you've shared a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome.
I can talk. I didn't quite realise how much I had to say.
Who knew? Who knew?
I mean, ask my family. They were like, of course. Or my friends, they were like, she can talk for ages.
Yeah, I'm sure for people that know, you're going to be like, man, that was short for her. But for everyone else, you know, it's always fascinating to learn about the different artists that, you know, are either in the area or from the area and what they've done. So thank you very much for coming in and sitting down and talking with us.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been really awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Sophie Sparrow. Sophie, I know that you're going to have gotten all the way through to the end of the podcast and you're going to go, man, I talk a lot. But you know what? Yes, that may be true. Okay, sure. But you made the editor's job super easy, which is great. So thank you very much. Having an artist like Sophie come in and just talk and then talk a bit more and then talk some more is really, really cool. And, you know, we touched on so many interesting topics throughout the podcast. You know, it was interesting. It was all going really, really well, and I think the whole thing was super, super cool. One of the really cool things actually happened. It was honestly a bit of a surprise for me. Was right at the very end, she started talking about her mental health, and I thought, okay, this is cool. Honestly, when we start doing these podcasts, we have no idea how they're going to go. It's not planned or structured in any way, shape, or form. It's literally just two people sitting down across from each other and having a conversation. And, you know, I've often only met the guests like half an hour or an hour before we come into the studio and talk. And it takes a little bit of time to build up some rapport and a bit of a connection. But every now and then you get little nuggets of absolute goodness, some real gems. And when she started talking so openly about her mental health, I was just like, wow, okay, this is really big. You know, it's important for us to be able to do that. New Zealand has, in November 2022, we had Gumboot Friday, which was super cool. And obviously Northland Artists Conversation are quite big supporters of 1737, who are a free service for people that are having challenges with mental health. So, you know, for another artist to talk so openly and honestly is very refreshing. And personally, I felt very, very privileged that she was able to share that with us. So, Sophie, thank you very much. Super cool. Someone that at only 29 years old has done so much. You know, she's got a master's. You know, she's currently a paid singer. And then she goes out and she does contract work and she does arias, and she was back in New Zealand doing a few little concerts around the country. Man, super cool. That is someone that is busy, just busy. She talks about the discipline that you have to have and how it's not just the voice, but it's actually her whole body that she's got to, keep in check. Make sure it's in tip-top condition so she can perform when she needs to. Just amazing amount of respect for someone that's so young, because she is only 29. But the dedication and commitment, so very cool. Sophie, Northland Artists Conversation looks forward to seeing where you continue to go and grow, because it's amazing. So where can you, the listener and viewer, find us? Well, Andrew is normally in the chair, so I'm going to have to do this again and try not to make a meal of it. So, for the visuals, as Andrew will say, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find us at Northland Artists Conversation. For audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Also, Northland Artists Conversation. And if you are a creative of any type, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your creative output is. We would love to hear from you if you aren't on our radar. If you or friends or family want to get in touch with us and say, hey, we know a guy, we know a gal, we know someone, you can contact us by emailing us at hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. We also have a Patreon page as well. Patreon is where you can contribute a little bit more to the podcast. If you subscribe to our channels and like, share, subscribe on YouTube, or give us a thumbs up or leave a comment, that's all great. But with Patreon, what you can do is you can actually interact with us a little bit more, and that's super cool. So we have 2 tiers. The first tier we have is a cup of coffee, and that's $5 a month. $5 really isn't that much. I mean, it's less than Spotify. Or the second tier we have is Coffee Addict, and that's $20 a month. With that, you get a couple of extra perks that you don't get with the cup of coffee perk. Those perks you get are you get a shout out at the end of each podcast, and we also put little posts in there as well about who's coming up, who we're going to be interviewing. So that way, if you're a Patreon supporter at the Coffee Addict level, you can ask a question, and I will actually pose that question to our guest as well. So that is super cool. So without further ado, our 2 Patreon supporters are Lauren Roach and Michael Boter. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate the support. It's been amazing. Where can you join us or find us on Patreon? Well, you can go to www.patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation, or go to Google and type in Patreon. That's Patreon. Do a search on the top right-hand corner. Type in Northland Artists Conversation. You'll find us there. Simply sign up and go through filling out all the details, support us, and then go from there. And that is really cool. It's, New Year's. Man, what can I say about my New Year's? I'm gonna throw to the wide now, I think. So the New Year's. New Year's for me was really, really interesting. I don't really go out and have like a big hoorah ha ha New Year's. I like to spend it with friends. And some of those friends have been on the podcast before, which is great. We hang out, we might have a few drinks, not big amount of drinks, just a few, drinking responsibly. And, often we might have a games night or something like that. Just something that's super cool, super chill, bit low key. But what it means is that it really sets up the new year for what we've got coming up. And 2023 is going to be a big year for the Northland Artists Conversation. We are going to try and get a huge array of guests. 2020 was amazing. We had some great guests. The podcast before this one will have been our year in review. Have a look at that. A lot of laughs. Some real hilarious stuff in there. It's been super cool and a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone who, if you've ever watched a video or part of the video, if you've ever left a comment on a Facebook page or an Instagram post, or even if you've just given us a little thumbs up or a love heart, or even if you're subscribed through one of the podcast audio platforms, thank you very much. Without you guys, we couldn't do what we do, and we appreciate the support. Long may it continue for 2023. My name is Mark Kelly. Over there is normally my co-host, Andrew McKenzie. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Northland Artists Conversation, and we will see you guys real soon.